What is going on, friends, and welcome into a very special interview I had with Chael Sonnen. We talk about his project with Flos Sports. It is Submission Underground 2, December 11th, 2016 on FlowGrappling.com. It was a really cool interview, and that'll be in just one moment, so stick around for that. You can follow us everywhere in the universe. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Follow us on Instagram. I'm at MikeMercado2333. You can like our outreach show on Facebook at Outreach Radio Chicago. We have the brand new website, mercadoairwaves.wordpress.com. And if you missed any of our interviews with other MMA legends and superstars like Dan Henderson, Frank Mir, Dominic Cruz, Eddie Alvarez. We have so many more. Just check it out at YouTube/MikeMercado2333 and subscribe to us. And here's our interview with Chael Sonnen. Hey, Chael, how you doing, buddy?
Mike, what's happening, buddy?
Thank you so much for making some time for us. So this came down the wire. It's actually really cool that you're working with the awesome people down at Flos Sports for Submission Underground 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, you basically summed it up. Flos Sports is, they dominate the online streaming space. It's just like pay-per-view that you and I have grown up on, where you sit down on the TV and you push the button. The only difference is you go to the computer, and they handle sports that are more niche sports that there's a big audience for, but they're not completely mainstream. Wrestling is one of them. I grew up as a wrestler. These guys are the number one media outlet in the world for wrestling. So when we decided to get into submission wrestling, submission grappling, they were just the obvious fit for partners. December 11th, we're going to have some of the best unarmed combatants in the world. They're going to go at it in an anything-goes atmosphere, minus strikes. They can do absolutely anything. Pick-up, slams, wrestling, chokes, joint manipulation, submission holds, anything. But they're not going to be punching and kicking and elbowing each other. And, man, it's pretty fascinating. We've got one of the biggest matches that MMA never had. It was supposed to happen, John Jones versus Dan Henderson. They were supposed to fight for the world championship. An injury came in between that match, and the promoters never got it back together. Rankings changed, the landscape changed. The bottom line was it just never happened. So these guys are finally going to get a hold of each other, and we're going to see who's better, Dan Henderson or John Jones.
That's pretty badass. Now, where did that idea come from, though, where, you're exploring MMA, and obviously people have this idea in their head of what they picture MMA, and they have this Hollywoodized idea, but there's so many facets to it. So to take away such an aspect of the arts of mixed martial arts, where did that come from? Where did that kind of cool idea of, well, let's see what people could do if we take that away from them?
Yeah, well, and particularly with these two. Dan Henderson's greatest weapon is his right hand. John Jones' greatest weapon is, his versatility with his elbows and knees and kicks. So, basically, this is the precursor to MMA. Before anybody gets involved in MMA, they start with grappling. I can use myself as an example. I was a lifelong wrestler, but everybody comes through some kind of a jiu-jitsu and grappling system before they ever get into the octagon or the cage for the first time. So this is just something that guys have always done. And there is a little bit less wear on your body. You can go out and prove your point. It's a shorter time atmosphere. The same guy that's going to win in grappling is usually going to win in MMA. That's not an absolute, but for the purpose of these two, they have agreed to settle their dispute this way.
See, and that's really interesting. Somebody like yourself who's conquered all the mountains and done all that, and you start off with the wrestling background like a lot of great guys, others with jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. To see the evolution of the sport go from very few underground pay-per-views to now, on December 11th, you guys are streaming on one of these top-tier websites for Submission Underground 2. Does it amaze you sometimes from where you started in wrestling and in the balconies and all that to where the sport has evolved and changed into where you guys could dominate a market?
It's so funny you put it that way. And I'll tell you why. The first fight I ever had in MMA was at a place called the Roseland Theater in Portland, Oregon. I got a call on Friday night from Dan Henderson, who was my buddy, coach, real mentor for me at the time. He says, hey, I got a fight for you. It's tomorrow. You need to be in Portland at the Roseland. The reason that I tell that story is now Dan Henderson and John Jones are going to be going at it Roseland, the same place I made my debut. So I never thought about it in those terms until you set it up that way. But, yeah, man, I think you're exactly right. To watch the sport evolve, to watch it go to where it did, from the money to the fame to the attention to the TV deals and the exposure. There was a time if you and I were on here talking about MMA, we would have had to back up and explain to the fans what that even meant.
Absolutely.
So the fact that now that that's a mainstream term and we could just throw it out and move on and everybody's on the same page, it's pretty fascinating. It wasn't something when I got into this that I thought I would ever be part of. I never thought the sport would grow to this point, particularly in this short of a time frame, but it did.
I'm over here in Chicago, and Chicago gets a rap for being a very rough city, having a lot of violence. And
not just a rap, my friend. You guys have earned that.
Yeah.
You guys aren't exactly a haven for civility to each other at all times.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. It's actually very disappointing, very sad, and I think
Thank you.
Yeah, and somebody like yourself, though, you can kind of be an inspiration for somebody to maybe use an outlet of wrestling or mixed martial arts, karate, whatever the case may be, to avoid that type of violence and concentrate it. Can you tell us a little bit about what you believe MMA can help out in the community?
Well, I think that you said it right there, man. There's got to be an honor to it, okay? There has to be an honor when two people have some kind of a conflict that is going to escalate to physical battle. When it's all over, you shake hands and you both leave, and that there's got to be an honor in that. There is no honor in pulling out a weapon or in going so far that somebody doesn't leave. There's got to be other ways to settle your dispute. There just does, and not just Chicago, but the world as a whole. I came from a wrestling background, and we do the same thing in wrestling two different times, and that is shake hands. You shake hands before the conflict, you shake hands after the conflict, and then you walk away. You settle it right there. You look at the scoreboard. One guy won. He gets to be the winner for the day. The other guy has to hang his head. But that's the rules that you agreed to go in. And there's an honor in that.
Awesome words from one of the best warriors to ever step into this sport. Chael, before I let you go, I know you have a crazy busy day. We have some two quick ones from some of your fans. One of them is when you're not kicking ass or when you're not doing an awesome job promoting or, soon to be WWE heavyweight champion, what do you do on your spare time?
I like to relax. If I had to, my least favorite thing in the world is a day off. I like to be busy. I like to be crammed. I don't like to sleep a lot. I go to bed when it's dark. I get up when it's dark. But if I had some time, I would probably just put my feet up on the couch, turn on the television, surf the internet. Nothing too glamorous.
Other than MMA, obviously, what's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, what I like to watch as a fan? I don't participate in it, but I wish I would have. If I could go do my life again, I would have done more of it. But it's gymnastics. I love it.
Okay.
I just think it's the ultimate sport, the ultimate control of the human body. I love the Olympic Games, and particularly I love the Olympic Games because they have such a presence with gymnastics. To watch what our Fab Five did this year, Biles, the greatest gymnast of all time, I love it. And then anything that is like that. For example, I love the high dives. I love the synchronized swimming. I love anything that is such incredible control of the human body that is gymnastics based.
So you have this big night coming up, December 11th, Submission Underground 2, one of the coolest main events that never happened, that should have happened. Without giving us any spoilers in the sense of who you think is going to win, can you give us a little lowdown of this fight?
Yeah, and I couldn't give you an opinion on who I think is going to win because I'm torn on it. Here's the deal. On paper, these guys aren't close. On paper, for grappling, it's Dan Henderson. This is literally the first time in 10 years that John Jones has entered a competition that he's not supposed to win. Now, so many pieces of logic go out the window when you deal with John Jones. He defies logic. He is the single greatest talent, the single greatest or toughest, rather, sport has ever seen. So can John Jones, who is an MMA guy, he grew up as a wrestler, but he didn't go as far as Dan Henderson, can he come in and beat a two-time Olympian at his own sport? Maybe, particularly when you consider the weight difference. These guys are fighting in the heavyweight class, so John Jones will show up, I would guess, about 225 pounds, and Dan Henderson will show up about 204 pounds. So there is some variables there that matter, but I would have to think in a grappling-only atmosphere when you have John Jones, who quit his last wrestling match at 19 years old, versus Dan Henderson, who's a two-time Olympic representative for this country, I think you've got to favor Dan Henderson.
Thank you so much for your time, buddy. If you want to plug anything before you head out, please, it's all yours.
No, plug you. Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Chael. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care.
A huge thank you to Chael Sonnen. It's Submission Underground 2 on FlowGrappling.com, December 11th, 2016. Hope you guys check it out and enjoy it. Thank you so much for checking us out, guys. You can follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Follow us on Instagram at MikeMercado2333. We're on YouTube. Subscribe to me at MikeMercado2333. We have the brand new website, MercadoAirwaves.wordpress.com, and the Outreach Radio Show page on Facebook at Outreach Radio Chicago. Thank you to Chael Sonnen. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.